It's time for our July Plan with Me. My journal spreads this month are all about flowers and the magic and mystery of the Midsummer Festival. And yes, I know Midsummer's in June. Hey friends, what's up? Welcome to my journal. My name is Shayda Campbell and it's time for the July Plan with Me. I am working in my favorite Archer and Olive notebook and my theme for 2023 is folklore and folk art. And my theme for July is Midsummer, which I know that Midsummer is in June. Midsummer, of course, being the festival that celebrates the summer solstice and the midpoint of the summer harvest. But you know what? I didn't do it for June. And I'm creating this spread in the middle of June for July, so I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And I thought a really fun illustration to celebrate Midsummer would be a little self-portrait with a flower crown. And I'm going to show you how easy and fun a self-portrait can really be. So let's jump right into it. I've started with a little circle for the head, and then you're just going to divide it with two lines, placing the ears on that horizontal access line. And then you can always change the shape face if you know that you have kind of a long face or a heart-shaped face. Make those little changes. Then add in your hair. I've got my long hair now, so I'm going to put that there. Make it chin length, even though I'm still kind of waiting for it to grow in. And then we'll place two little eyes in line with the ears, and you can put a little dot or oval for the mouth. Let me just take that hair down a notch. Your body, put a little neck, and then the body is just this rounded area. And then from there, we can do all the big flowers and leaves on top of the head. So we're keeping everything very, very simple. And it's going to be a lot of fun to color this in with the brush pens. And you can see that I've got my Tombow brush pens all at the ready here. I'm going to get rid of a lot of the pencil lines, just using a really soft eraser to come in and clean up the pencil. And then we'll start by taking whatever color you're using for your skin tone. I'm using kind of a light pink because I have very pale skin. And we're going to color in the neck and head and face, I guess you could say. And then grab a secondary color, blue or burgundy or whatever. And we're just going to create some sort of pattern on that large area that we marked out for the body. We're not doing arms. We're not doing anything. And I did kind of a gingham, so I just did a crisscross with burgundy, and I think it looks really pretty. I put a little collar there as well. But you could do floral, you could do stripes, you could do polka dots, just think of a fun pattern. And then we get started on the really fun part, which is the flower crown. I'm starting mine off with a lot of large pink flowers, and they're sort of roses, so I'm doing messy spirals, some large, some a little smaller. Then I'm going to take a secondary color, and I want some contrast, so I went for a darker blue, and I'm just going to do a flower that's not a rose. So I'm doing these little 3 and 4 petal flowers, and I've made them a little bit smaller because I want color contrast and I want a size contrast there as well. As I'm creating this, I just want to remind you that you can print my cover page for your own journal. Just become a patron. It's only $2 a month or $22 for the year, and it's a great way to support this channel. Head to patreon.com/Shayda Campbell. Okay, let's put in a few leaves. Sometimes I'll just do a little green splotch kind of in between the flowers to show that there could be a leaf there. At other times, I'm doing a larger brush mark, little oval shape on the outside of those flowers to show that there are leaves kind of framing all the florals. And then I've got enough flowers going on here. So why not grab the color you're using for your hair? In my case, it is now dark brown, which I like. And I am going to color in the bottom part of my hair. And then I need to fill in some bangs as well because I am wearing a bit of a bang. The fun part of doing the self-portrait is you're just simplifying what makes up you. A little bit of dark hair, a little bit of light hair. You don't have to get to the details. And I think that's what makes it really fun and approachable. So with that bit of hair in place, let's grab some more color and add to the flower crown. I went with burgundy and I'm going to do a little berry. So again, more size contrast, more color contrast. Berries are so tiny, so they're going to add a nice delicacy and detail to your illustration. Okay, and then with the flower crown pretty much done, I want to take a larger brush marker, or you could use a chisel tip, And it wouldn't hurt if you had an alcohol-based marker, although it's not super important. We're going to draw a little oval or egg shape around our self-portrait, and we're just going to fill that in. This is just an old alcohol-based brush marker that I have, and the alcohol markers are less likely to leave streaks. They put down kind of a nice wash of color. From there, grab a darker skin tone, and we'll put a little color on the cheeks, maybe a little shading on the neck or the ears. And then put a little spot of darker color where the lips are, a little oval or heart shape, and I just used that pink that I used for the flowers. Okay, now we need to add her little eyes, so I'm using a pen for this, a fine liner, and remember all of the supplies are linked in the video description. It's a great way to get the exact same supplies that you see me using and support the channel. Shop those Amazon links. And then we need to add a little shading to our flower crown, so go take a darker green and add a few lines or splotches on the leaves. Come in with a darker pink or peach and add some detail at the center of those larger flowers. A little bit goes a long way here, but it will look so pretty. And then the final step is just to go over the month title. I've written July, and I'm using the dark green to go over that. And I'm not very good at brush lettering, but that is okay. We've got our sweet little self-portrait cover page celebrating Midsummer and the festival of flowers and the harvest. And now we're going to flip over and do a quick calendar page. So as usual, I've just sketched a grid in pencil. Then I'm taking a relatively thick, weighty fine liner, the 0.7 millimeter nib. Remember, my favorite pens are linked in the description. And I'm just pulling that pen towards my body to make a fairly straight calendar. You can see it got a little wonky on the right. It doesn't really matter. So there's my July calendar created rather quickly. Now what I want to do, because I did use an alcohol-based marker on the cover page and I got some bleed through, as you tend to do when using alcohol-based pens, I just want to grab a little piece of colored paper. I ripped it, made a nice sharp edge using a ruler, and we'll place that there and we'll do an illustration on that. I did put a little color on the calendar as well. And then I've got this pretty light blue paper here where I want to place the illustration. So I thought it would be fun to do some white little daisies. And I'm just using my favorite white gel pen to create these tiny little flowers. They're all sort of 4 and 5 petal flowers. I'm doing them in a cluster, and I'm just putting a whole bunch really tightly clustered together to draw a simple bouquet. And I think it's going to look really pretty. This is another illustration where you get really good bang for your buck. Just draw a whole bunch, different sizes, close together, and it's going to look so sweet. And then once that sort of circular area is filled in with the white flowers, take a different color. I'm using a really dark mustard yellow. And we're just going to put a little dot at the center of each flower. You can really see how this illustration is coming to life now. And then from there, come in with a green. It could be a light or dark green, doesn't matter. And we're just going to put a little bit of green, like a few thin lines in between all the flowers, wherever there's a little bit of blue poking through. And then once that's done, come down to the base of the bouquet, draw a lot of thin little stems, and finally we'll start framing everything with a few raggedy leaves. And I just draw these little lines along a branch for the leaves, and it looks really pretty and detailed, and it's a simple, straightforward illustration that looks so good on colored paper. And if you do have some bleed through on some of your pages, colored paper is definitely your friend. Okay, to complete this illustration, we're taking a fine liner and just drawing a little bow to tie that bouquet together. And that's it. Now, one thing happened here. I didn't really like the color that I chose for the calendar with the blue paper. The gray and the blue just didn't look good. So we're going to move this guy over. He'll be part of the next spread. And I'm going to do another one on the calendar page. I'll do another similar illustration for the calendar page. That's kind of my theme this month for Midsummer. I just want to do lots of florals and summery and harvest and all of that good stuff. So I put the date there, July 2023. I grabbed another piece of paper, a pretty creamy yellow that would look good and actually complement that sort of mauve gray that I used on the calendar. I cut a very perfectly imperfect sort of oval shape. I'm going to glue that in because I know I like the color. And now I want to do a simple illustration there. For this summery floral, I'm drawing on a lot of the skills that we built up drawing our flower crown. I'm taking the pink and I'm doing those big kind of spiral shaped flowers, those roses. Then I'm going to grab another color and I'm again using blue because I want the theme to kind of flow. For this one, you draw a little circle and then you just go around and kind of do all these tiny little lines or spikes, and it makes kind of a pretty daisy or aster. Next up, I'll continue my sort of scribble flower bouquet by doing this longer flower that kind of looks like a lilac or a lupin, and it's just made up of all these little dots clustered in a sort of triangle or cone shape. So really think of these as scribble flowers. Drawing with a brush pen is a lot like painting with a paintbrush. You're using the movement of the brush, of the pen, to create these messy, loose little florals. The nice thing here is that you don't need to get every last detail and really even draw a lot of detail to make something really pretty. So once we've done a couple different types of flowers, we're going to frame them all with some green leaves and green stems. You can see that I put a few white flowers in there too. And then we're going to start adding some shading. So coming in with that darker green and adding little lines and splotches on the leaves, maybe darkening up those stems. We'll grab a darker peach or pink and add just some little lines and dots on the bottom half of those roses. It'll make them look like big layered peonies or roses, a flower with layers and layers of petals. I put a little spot of yellow at the center of the white flowers, and then I decided to do almost like a little yellow berry, or think of like a goldenrod or something. You're just doing a cluster of dots in a cone shape, a little bit smaller than we did with the burgundy scribble flowers. These are the best and most fun to draw. There is no pressure here to get it right. This is your journal. Just have fun and see what you come up with making these fun floral shapes. So there's my little bouquet all done. We'll just take that fine liner, put the bow across the stems, and we've done a similar illustration here for the cover page, for the calendar, and then the daisies as well, which we don't even know what we're using that for yet, but they all kind of flow and work together. And, this has actually only taken maybe an hour and a half to create. So things are moving quickly. Everything's really pretty and summery. I'm going to come back to this guy. What I want to do now is flip over and work on my weekly layout. Now for this weekly layout, I folded the middle page to create a Dutch door, very similar to what I did last month. Then I'm going to mark a grid of 6 on both sides of that Dutch door. So once again, we're doing a double weekly layout. I wanted to have 2 weeks all set up and ready to go because in the summer, I'm really busy and it's a challenge to even use my journal. I think because I'm busy with fun stuff, I'm trying to take Selly out of daycare as much as possible, spend time with family and friends, get away for a long weekend. So I'm not really in a journaling mode, and having 2 weeks set up kind of ready to go makes it a lot more likely that I'll actually use my journal. And I didn't really use mine a ton in June, and that's okay too. It's fine to set this up. Just making it I find so therapeutic, so don't feel like guilty or anything if you're not using your journal a ton at this point. I'm just going to add a little bit of color to this weekly layout, and it's that simple. I'll flip over and do the exact same layout on the left-hand side, placing just a little hint of color there as well to highlight all the days of the week. And then, that looks a little dull, but the Dutch door not only gives us somewhere to put the calendar and our to-do lists, especially the back of the Dutch door is great for hiding all your messy notes, but it gives us somewhere to put a little bit of color, a little bit of an illustration. So I just wrote July in a nice pink, and then I've got the whole bottom area here where I can put, you guessed it, another bouquet illustration where I'm just doing these really scribble flowers. So I've done these large peonies to begin with in burgundy. You just sort of make this circular shape and it's all scribbly and spirally. Leave a little bit of space at the center where you can place some yellow or brown. I did my scribble spiral roses, and then I'll start framing everything with lots of little stems and leaves in a light green here. It comes together so simply. It's a lot of fun to draw. I find these sort of illustrations very therapeutic because I'm really enjoying the process and I don't worry about the outcome. You can do your little cone flower that's made of dots, maybe put some yellow, some darker peach or pink, and that's it. It's all done. Just going to highlight my days of the week there, and then we'll flip back. We've got a great weekly layout for the first half of June. We're going to flip back and finish up that final spread. So we've already got this cute little illustration on blue paper, which did not match my gray calendar. Let's glue that in on the left-hand side, make it nice and flat. And then over here on the right, I want to continue the daisy theme. So you're going to start with a few little yellow dots, then come in with a warm gray, really light gray if you have it, and just do a few small brush marks. And then here's where it comes together and the magic happens. Take your fine liner and we're going to draw these very perfectly imperfect petals all the way around the yellow dot in the center. And suddenly the gray is just a bit of shading. You have these white petals, and then we can frame the entire flower with a little bit of greenery, just a few thin lines and brush marks, really. It's a lot like painting when you're working with these brush pens, especially the Tombos, which have a wonderful nib, and they make these doodle illustrations really easy. I'm going to place a similar illustration down here at the bottom, started with 5 little dots of yellow, put a few gray brush marks, and then came in with my fine liner. I'm using a 0.7 millimeter nib, and I drew in all the petals. So you're going to have some white petals, some gray petals, and some will have a bit of gray on them. And then I needed a few more here to fill out the illustration. So go ahead and make the cluster as large or as small as you like and just follow this formula. It makes a really nice 2-page spread for whatever you want. Some notes, a brain dump. You could do a tracker. I know myself, I'm not going to use this journal a lot this month. So for me, I'll probably just put a little quote on this page, use it for some notes and brain dump. Like, what am I looking for at the thrift store? What kind of major goals do I have? That kind of stuff. But yeah, use this however you see fit. I put just a little bit of dark green on those leaves, and that was it. Let's take a look at my July Midsummer layout together, okay? I know some people are going to be like, don't do Midsummer for July, you weirdo. Okay, so we've got a fun flower crown self-portrait, and then we've carried this easy, summery doodle flower theme throughout, right to our Dutch door double weekly layout. And finally, just a reminder that you can grab my cover page as a printable for your own journal. That's available on Patreon. Thank you, patrons, for your support. All right, friends, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you soon with a new tutorial.